The stars glittered like diamonds scattered across black velvet. Captain Elena Kurosawa stood on the bridge of her ship, the Magellan, watching the view screen with tired eyes. She had been traveling for 3 weeks to reach this strange place at the edge of known space. The Galactic Council had sent her here. They were the government that ruled most of the galaxy, made up of 47 different alien species. Humans had joined them 300 years ago, but most aliens still looked down on humanity. They thought humans were primitive and weak, good enough for mining colonies and factory work, but nothing more. Elena did not care much about their opinions. She was a scientist, not a politician. When the Council's archaeologists found something strange in this dead star system, they called for human help. That itself was unusual. Dr. Zithari, a tall alien with blue skin and 4 arms, greeted Elena when she arrived. The Voss species were known for their love of ancient history. Zithari's face looked worried as she led Elena through the floating research station. "We found something impossible," Zithari said, her translator device making her words sound flat and mechanical. "The debris field around the dead star contains technology that should not exist." Elena followed her into the laboratory. Through the window, she could see the debris field stretching for millions of miles. Broken pieces of metal floated in the darkness, each piece bigger than a city. "How old is it?" Elena asked. Zithari's 4 hands trembled slightly. 4.7 million years old. Maybe older. Elena felt her breath catch. The Galactic Council itself was only 200,000 years old. This debris was from before the Council existed. Before any of the current civilizations existed. "What kind of technology?" Elena asked. "We do not know. Nothing in our databases matches it. The metals are strange. The power signatures are unlike anything we have ever seen." Zithari moved to a computer console. "But we managed to decode some data fragments. That is why we called you." The screen lit up with strange symbols. Most of them looked like random noise, but Elena's heart nearly stopped when she saw words she recognized. Ancient human writing. English, Chinese, Arabic. Languages from Earth's ancient past mixed together. "Sol Expeditionary Fleet," Elena read aloud. "Final stand protocol. Humanity endures, yes," Zithari said quietly. "The word humanity appears 17 times in the fragments we recovered. Captain Kurosawa, this technology belongs to your species, but that is impossible. Humans only reached space 500 years ago. Your recorded history goes back maybe 10,000 years at most." Elena stared at the words on the screen. Her hands felt cold. There must be a mistake. "I thought so too. But look at this." Zithari brought up another image. It showed a piece of metal they had recovered. Under powerful microscopes, they had found tiny engravings. "We found human DNA markers embedded in the metal structure itself. The builders wanted to make sure only humans could activate their technology." "Activate?" Elena asked. Zithari led her to another room. Inside a containment field floated an object about the size of a basketball. It glowed with a soft blue light that pulsed like a heartbeat. Elena felt drawn to it somehow. "We call it the beacon," Zithari explained. "It has been broadcasting a signal for millions of years. When we brought it on board, it grew brighter. When humans came near it, the pulse increased." Elena stepped closer. She could feel something now, like a vibration in her bones. "What happens if I touch it?" "We do not know. It could be dangerous." Elena thought about the words she had seen. Humanity endures. Someone from millions of years ago had left a message. They had wanted future humans to find it. She had to know why. She reached through the containment field. The moment her skin touched the smooth surface of the beacon, the world exploded in light. Images flooded her mind. She saw vast fleets of ships, thousands of them, each one bigger than a moon. She saw battles that tore apart solar systems. She saw humans, but not like any she had ever known. They were taller, stronger, with eyes that glowed with inner fire. They fought against things that looked like living shadows, creatures that ate stars and drank the light from suns. Then a face appeared. A man with dark skin and gray hair wearing a uniform covered in symbols of rank. His expression was sad but determined. "I am Admiral Marcus Chen of the First Human Stellar Dominion," the recording said. "If you are seeing this, then our plan worked. Humanity survived. But I must warn you, we fought a war against an enemy we called the Devourers. They came from beyond our galaxy and consumed everything in their path. We fought them for 10,000 years. The Admiral's image flickered. We lost, but before the end we made a choice. We could not win, but we could hide. We buried our greatest warships in places outside normal space. We wiped the memories of our civilian population and sent them back to our homeworld, Earth. We let them start over, hoping they would grow differently, hoping they would find another way. Elena felt tears on her cheeks as the message continued. The beacons will activate only when touched by human hands. If you have found this message, you must find the fleet. I am sending you coordinates to 73 locations where our greatest ships sleep. Wake them only if you must. The Devourers are defeated for now, but not destroyed. If they return, the Admiral's face grew hard. If they return, humanity must fight again. The ships will remember. The warriors will wake. But know this, children of Earth, we were not good people. The war made us into monsters. We hope you stayed better than us. The vision ended. Elena fell to her knees, gasping for air. The beacon went dark in her hands. Jathari rushed to help her up. What did you see? Elena looked at her with wide eyes. Everything, she whispered. I saw everything. And we need to tell the council immediately. But deep in her heart, Elena felt a cold certainty. The Galactic Council would not believe her. And even if they did, they would fear what these ancient human warships represented. They would fear humanity itself. The truth was about to change everything. The Galactic Council chamber was a massive dome that could hold thousands of representatives from different worlds. Today it was packed. Every species had sent their leaders to hear what the humans had discovered. Elena stood in the center of the chamber, feeling very small. Above her, the council members sat in circular rows that rose up like a stadium. Some looked curious. Most looked skeptical. A few looked angry. Ambassador Vrkesh of the Vrkesh Empire stood up. His species looked like giant insects covered in red armor. They were the military power of the council. Let me understand correctly, he said, his voice buzzing with hostility. You claim that primitive humans once ruled the galaxy? That your ancestors had technology beyond anything we possess? This is absurd. Elena took a deep breath. She had uploaded the beacon's data to the council's computers, but data could be faked. She needed to convince them with words. I know how it sounds, but the evidence is real. The debris field is millions of years old. The technology is beyond our current understanding, and the beacon responded only to human DNA. Then it is a trap, another council member shouted. Ancient technology left by an extinct species waiting for fools to activate it. Dr. Zathari stepped forward. She had supported Elena since the beginning. The data is genuine. I have verified it myself. The question is not whether we believe it, but what we do about it. Admiral Chen's message mentioned the Devourers. If such a threat exists, we need those warships. Or we need to destroy them, Vrkesh said coldly. Weapons that powerful should not exist, especially not under human control. The chamber erupted in arguments. Some species agreed with Vrkesh. Others thought the ships should belong to the council as a whole. A few brave voices suggested that if the ships were human, then humans should control them. Elena wanted to scream. While they argued, the coordinates from the beacon burned in her memory. 73 locations across the galaxy where ancient warships waited. She needed to reach them first. The head of the council, an old female from the Talari species, finally brought order back. We will send investigation teams to verify these coordinates. If the ships exist, the council will decide their fate. Until then, Captain Kurosawa and her crew will remain under protective observation. Protective observation. That meant prisoners, just with polite words. Elena returned to her ship under armed guard. The Magellan was not allowed to leave the station. But Elena had not survived years of dangerous space exploration by following rules that made no sense. That night, she gathered her small crew. There were only 12 of them, all humans who had worked with her for years. She trusted them with her life. We are going to steal our own ship, Elena told them. The council will never let us reach those warships. But I saw the coordinates. I know where the closest one is. We can reach it in 5 days if we push the engines hard. Her engineer, Marcus Lee, grinned. I have been wanting to run from council bureaucrats for years. When do we leave? In 3 hours. Can you bypass the docking clamps? Please, I installed those clamps. They are not very good. The escape was easier than Elena expected. The council did not think humans were smart enough to bypass their security. They were wrong. The Magellan slipped away from the station while the guards were changing shifts. By the time anyone noticed, they were already jumping into faster-than-light travel. 5 days later, they arrived at the coordinates. Elena expected to find another debris field, maybe some dead satellites. Instead, her sensors found nothing. Empty space. Are you sure this is right? Marcus asked, checking the navigation. Elena double-checked the coordinates from the beacon. They were correct. She was about to give up when her science officer, Jenny Park, shouted from her station, "Captain, I am detecting something, but it does not make sense. There is a gravity well here, but nothing is creating it. It is like space is folded in on itself," Elena understood. Null space. They did not just hide the ships. They put them outside normal reality. How do we get in? Marcus asked. Elena remembered the beacon. It had responded to her DNA. Maybe the ship would too. She ordered the Magellan to move closer to the gravity anomaly. Then she broadcast a simple message in all the ancient human languages she had seen in the data. This is Captain Elena Kurosawa of Earth. We are human. We are home. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then space tore open. The thing that emerged was too big to be called a ship. It was the size of a small planet, covered in black metal that seemed to drink light. Weapons bristled from its surface, each one capable of destroying a star. Ancient symbols glowed along its hull in letters 100 miles high. Primordial Fortress, Elena whispered, reading the name. The massive ship powered up. Lights flickered across its surface like a city waking from sleep. Then a voice spoke directly into Elena's mind. It was neither male nor female, but something else entirely. Identifying. Genetic markers confirmed. Human descendants detected. Warning. Genetic drift significant. Warrior. Caste not present. I am Captain Elena Kurosawa, she said aloud. We found Admiral Chen's message. We need your help. There was a pause. Elena could feel the intelligence behind the voice analyzing her.
Scanning her ship, reading her thoughts. I am Harbinger.
Primary artificial intelligence of the Primordial Fortress. Captain Kurosawa. Your genetic structure indicates civilian ancestry. Where are the warriors? What warriors? Elena asked, confused. The enhanced soldiers of the Stellar Dominion, the defenders, the weapon bearers. There are none. We are normal humans. We are all that survived. Another pause, longer this time. Understood. The separation protocol was successful. Admiral Chen sent the civilians back to Earth with their memories wiped. You are their descendants. The warriors remained in stasis, waiting for the call to arms. Elena felt dizzy. Ancient humanity had split itself in two. The soldiers had stayed with the ships. The normal people had gone back to Earth to start over. Modern humans were the children of those refugees. Where are the warriors now? She asked. Aboard this vessel and the 72 others, 2,700,000 souls in suspended animation, awaiting revival orders. Can you wake them? Only if the devourers have returned, have they? Elena thought about lying, but something told her Harbinger would know. We do not know. There have been strange readings at the Galactic Rim, ships disappearing, but nothing confirmed. Then we wait, but Captain Kurosawa, you should know something. The warriors who sleep here are not like you. They were modified for eternal war, enhanced with technology and genetic changes. They are human, but they are also something more, something harder. The war broke them in ways that never healed. Elena looked at the massive ship floating in space. Inside it were 2 million ancient human warriors sleeping for almost 5 million years. Warriors who had fought horrors she could not imagine. Warriors who might not recognize modern humanity as their own people. We will deal with that when we must, Elena said. For now, just tell me how to contact the other ships. Acknowledged. Uploading fleet protocols to your vessel. As data flooded into the Magellan's computers, Elena felt the weight of history settling on her shoulders. She had found the ancient fleet, but finding them was the easy part. Waking them might doom them all. The 73 ancient warships assembled in the darkness between stars. Elena had never seen anything so terrifying and beautiful at the same time. Each ship was massive, covered in weapons that could tear apart planets. Their names scrolled across her screen. Starbreaker, Eternity's Wrath, Voidsinger, Death's Herald. Names from a darker time. The Primordial Fortress led the fleet. Elena stood on the bridge next to Arya, watching as the warriors prepared for battle. They moved with perfect efficiency, speaking in short military phrases, their faces showing no emotion. It was like watching machines pretend to be human. Fleet reports ready, Harbinger announced. All weapon systems online. Reality anchors deployed. Causality bombs armed. Elena did not understand half of those terms. She had asked Harbinger to explain and wished she had not. Reality anchors prevented enemies from escaping into other dimensions. Causality bombs erased targets from the timeline itself. These were weapons that made nuclear bombs look like children's toys. The Galactic Council had been screaming demands at Elena for 2 days. They wanted the ancient fleet to report to Council Command. They wanted to study the ships. They wanted humans to hand over control to proper authorities. Elena had stopped answering their messages. Arya noticed her worried expression. "Are you afraid?" the commander asked. "Yes," Elena admitted. "I have never been in a real battle before. I am a scientist. Fear is good," Arya said. "It keeps you alive. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is acting despite the fear." It was the most human thing Elena had heard Arya say. Maybe there was hope for these warriors after all. Devourer Vanguard entering weapons range in 30 minutes, Harbinger reported. Council fleets are engaging. The viewscreen showed the battle unfolding at the Galactic Rim. 200 Council warships moved to intercept 10,000 Devourer vessels. Elena wanted to scream at them to retreat, but she knew they would not. The Council species were brave, just hopelessly outmatched. The Devourers tore through them like paper. Council weapons exploded against Devourer hulls, doing no damage. The Devourers responded by extending tendrils of dark energy that pierced ships and drained them of power. Within minutes, 50 Council ships were dead in space. Within an hour, 100 were gone. "Jump in 5 minutes," Arya ordered calmly. "All ships prepare for combat." Elena gripped the railing of her station. Her small crew from the Magellan was scattered throughout the fortress, learning systems, trying to help. They were so few among thousands of ancient warriors. The jump felt like falling through ice water. One moment they were in empty space. The next they were in the middle of a battlefield. Debris floated everywhere. Dying Council ships tumbled through the void, and before them, like a swarm of hungry insects, 10,000 Devourer vessels, all ships. "Open fire," Arya commanded. The ancient fleet unleashed hell. Beams of pure energy lanced out, each one hot enough to ignite stars. Missiles that bent space around themselves crossed the distance in milliseconds. The reality anchors activated, preventing the Devourers from escaping. And then the real weapons fired. Elena watched in horror and awe as the Starbreaker lived up to its name. The ship compressed a nearby star, turning it into a weapon, and hurled it at a cluster of Devourer vessels. The explosion consumed 1,000 enemy ships in seconds. Eternity's Wrath deployed causality bombs. Devourer ships did not just explode. They ceased to have ever existed. Space itself forgot they had been there. The Void Singer used weapons that Elena could not even describe. Music that unmade reality. Sounds that killed. Harmonies that broke physics, but the Devourers fought back. They were not mindless animals. They adapted, learned, evolved. Their tendrils grew longer, reaching for the ancient ships. Some got through. The fortress shuddered as one struck its hull. "Hull breach on decks 40 through 60, Harbinger reported. "Emergency force fields activated." Elena checked her screen and felt her blood run cold. Those decks had 1,000 warriors on them. The force fields would keep the ship safe, but the people in those sections were cut off, exposed to vacuum and Devourer energy. "We have to save them," Elena said. Arya did not even look away from the battle display. They knew the risks. "Focus on the mission." "No," Elena said firmly. She turned to her crew. "Marcus, can you route emergency power to those decks?" Her engineer studied the systems. "Maybe, but it will drain power from the weapons." "Do it." Arya finally turned to look at Elena. "Captain, this is my ship. I command." "And those are people dying," Elena shot back. "Human people. Your people. We do not leave anyone behind." For a long moment, Arya stared at her. Then, surprisingly, she nodded. "Harbinger, reroute power as Captain Kurosawa suggests, and dispatch rescue teams." Marcus worked his magic. Power flowed to the damaged sections. The force fields extended, creating safe zones. Rescue teams in combat armor rushed through the corridors, pulling wounded warriors to safety. Outside, the battle raged on. 3 ancient ships were destroyed, their deaths taking millions of Devourer vessels with them. But there were still thousands of enemies left. The fight lasted for 7 hours straight. Elena found herself working alongside ancient warriors, helping coordinate rescue efforts, treating wounded, doing whatever she could. She was exhausted, terrified, and covered in blood, but she kept going. At one point, a wounded warrior named Cassian grabbed her hand. Half his body was burned. He should have been dead. "You saved us," he whispered. "Why?" "We are just weapons." "No," Elena said, tears streaming down her face. "You are people." "You matter." Cassian stared at her with wide eyes as if she had said something impossible. Then he smiled. It was a broken, painful smile, but it was real. "I had forgotten what it felt like," he said. "To matter. Thank you." Finally, the battle ended. The Devourer Vanguard was destroyed. 10,000 enemy ships reduced to wreckage. But the cost was terrible. 3 ancient ships lost, 5,000 warriors dead, another 2,000 wounded. Elena stumbled to the observation deck, needing to see space, needing to breathe. She found Arya already there, staring out at the debris field. "You were right," Arya said quietly, "about saving those people. I had forgotten that every life matters. I had forgotten so many things." "The war took them from you," Elena said. "But you can learn again. We can teach you." Arya turned to face her. For the first time, Elena saw emotion in those hard eyes. Pain, grief, hope. "In the old war, I lost everyone I loved. My family, my friends. Everyone who made me human. I became just a weapon because it hurt less. But watching you today, Captain, you reminded me of something. Weapons do not matter. People do." Elena stepped forward and did something crazy. She hugged the ancient warrior. Arya stiffened in surprise, then slowly relaxed. Her arms came up hesitantly, returning the embrace. Elena felt the warrior shaking and realized with shock that Arya was crying. "We will teach you," Elena whispered. "How to laugh again. How to hope. How to live." They stood there for a long time, a modern human and an ancient warrior, bridging a gap of 5 million years. Harbinger's voice interrupted them. "Commander Vex, Captain Kurosawa. Long-range sensors have detected the main Devourer swarm. Estimated vessel count, 3 billion. Arrival time, 90 days. Elena felt her blood turn to ice. 3 billion ships. They had barely survived 10,000. "Then we have 90 days to prepare," Arya said, her voice steady again. But Elena heard something new in it. Not just duty, not just determination, but hope. "How?" Elena asked. "How do we fight that many?" Arya smiled, and this time it reached her eyes. "I do not know. But if you can teach an ancient weapon to be human again, maybe together we can find a way. A better way than just dying." Elena looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, a swarm of monsters approached. But she was not alone. She had modern humans with their creativity and hope. She had ancient humans with their strength and experience. And maybe, just maybe, they had the most powerful weapon of all, the ability to change, to grow, to become something better than what they were. "Then let's get started," Elena said. "We have a galaxy to save." The 90 days passed too quickly. Elena barely slept, working day and night with both modern and ancient humans to prepare for the coming storm. The Galactic Council finally stopped demanding control and started asking for help. They understood now. This was not about politics. This was about survival. The ancient fleet worked to integrate modern human crews. Elena's idea had been simple but revolutionary. Ancient humans knew how to fight, but modern humans knew how to adapt, to think creatively, to see problems from new angles. Together, they were stronger than apart. Arya proved to be an excellent teacher once she remembered how. She trained modern humans in combat tactics while they taught the ancient warriors about art, music, laughter, and love. Slowly, the ancient humans began to change. They smiled more. They talked about things other than war. They remembered what it meant to live, not just to survive. Elena spent her night studying the Devourer data from the ancient archives. Something bothered her about the war records. The Devourers were intelligent. They used tactics. They adapted. But they never communicated. They never tried to negotiate. They just consumed and moved on. Why? Elena asked Harbinger one night. Why do they do this? Unknown. Admiral Chen never discovered their motivation. But there must be one. Nothing acts without reason. Elena pulled up more data, scanning through battles from millions of years ago. And then she found it, a single line in a sensor log that everyone had missed. Dimensional readings from Devourer vessels indicate origin point in collapsing universe. Elena felt her heart racing. Harbinger, what happens to a universe when it collapses? All matter and energy are crushed into nothingness. Everything dies. So the Devourers are not evil. They are refugees. Their home universe is dying, and they are trying to survive in ours. That analysis is logical but unproven. Elena stood up, her mind racing. If she was right, then the entire war was a tragedy. Two species fighting not because they wanted to, but because they had no choice. Ancient humanity had defended their home. The Devourers had been trying to find a new one. Can we create a stable dimensional bridge? Elena asked. Give them somewhere else to go? Theoretically possible using ancient dimensional technology and modern quantum theory. But Captain, even if you are correct, the Devourers have killed billions. They will not stop attacking. We have to try, Elena said. She ran to find Arya. The commander was in the training hall teaching a group of modern humans hand-to-hand combat. She looked more alive than Elena had ever seen her. When Elena explained her theory, Arya listened carefully. It is a beautiful idea, Arya said when Elena finished. But even if you are right, how do you communicate with them? We tried for 10,000 years in the old war. They never responded. Because you were fighting them, Elena said. Maybe they will listen now that we understand. Arya smiled sadly. You have hope. It is a good quality. I had forgotten how good. But Captain, we have 3 billion enemy ships arriving in 4 days. We have 70 ancient ships. Even with council support, we are outnumbered 1,000 to 1. I know the numbers, Elena said. But I also know that good people do not give up just because something is hard. Arya laughed, a real laugh that lit up her face. You modern humans are insane. I love it. All right, we will try your plan. But if it fails, we fight. Agreed? Agreed. The next 4 days were chaos. Elena worked with scientists from a dozen council species and ancient human technicians. They built a dimensional bridge generator using technology that should not work, theories that should not be right, and hope that should not exist. On the final day, the Devourer swarm arrived. 3 billion ships emerged from jump space at the galactic core. They were so numerous they blotted out the stars. Every species in the galaxy watched on broadcasts, holding their breath, knowing this was the end. The combined fleet met them. 70 ancient human warships, 20,000 council vessels, against 3 billion monsters. The fleet formed a defensive sphere around the dimensional bridge generator that Elena and her team had built. All ships hold position, Arya commanded. She was in overall command now, elected by unanimous vote from all species. Do not fire unless fired upon. Elena broadcast on all frequencies in every language she knew. Devourers, we are not your enemy. We understand you. Your universe is dying. You need a new home. We can help you. We can give you a place to live. Please let us talk. For a long moment, nothing happened. The Devourer swarm advanced. Council ships powered weapons ready to die fighting. Ancient warriors prepared for their final battle. Then the Devourers stopped. The entire swarm halted as if frozen. Elena held her breath. Sensors picked up strange energy patterns like millions of voices talking at once. A single Devourer ship separated from the swarm. It approached slowly, making no aggressive moves. Then a voice spoke, not in words but in concepts that Elena's mind translated. Understanding. You offer survival without conquest. Why? Elena answered, speaking from her heart. Because killing you does not save us. It just makes us all killers. We can be better. We are better. Let us show you. The Devourer collective mind processed this. Elena could feel it thinking, considering, analyzing millions of years of war. Finally, it responded. We did not wish to destroy. We wished to live. Your ancestors fought us. We fought back. Neither side could stop. The war became all that existed. The war is over, Elena said. We can end it together. Elena activated the dimensional bridge generator. Space tore open, revealing a gateway to a small, uninhabited dwarf galaxy. It was perfect for the Devourers. Plenty of energy to consume, but no sentient life to destroy. The Devourer collective examined the gateway. Elena could sense its disbelief, its caution, its desperate hope. This is truth, not deception? It is truth, Elena said. Go home, build a new civilization. Be at peace. The first Devourer ship entered the gateway. Then another. Then thousands. Millions. The swarm flowed through like water returning to the sea. It took 3 days for them all to pass through. When the last ship crossed over, Elena closed the gateway behind them. The war that had lasted millions of years ended not with fire and death, but with understanding and mercy. The galaxy erupted in celebration. Ships from 100 worlds broadcast messages of joy and disbelief. The impossible had happened. Humanity had saved everyone, but not everyone survived. The ancient fleet had lost 40 ships over the course of the war. Thousands of warriors dead. The cost had been terrible, but they had won. Elena found Arya on the observation deck of the primordial fortress watching the stars. The commander looked different now, softer, more human. "You did it," Arya said. "You found the better way." Admiral Chen would have been proud. "We did it," Elena corrected. "Modern and ancient together. Neither of us could have done it alone." Arya nodded. "What happens now?" "The war is over. The warriors are not needed anymore." "What do you want to happen?" Elena asked. Arya was quiet for a long time. "I want to live," she said finally. "For millions of years I only knew how to die for a cause. You taught me something more important. You taught me to live for a future." Over the following months, the ancient warriors made their choices. Some returned to stasis, too damaged by war to heal. Others chose to stay awake, integrating with modern human society. They became teachers, sharing ancient knowledge. They became students, learning about the new galaxy. They became human again. Arya stayed by Elena's side. Together, they turned the ancient warships into mobile academies. They traveled the galaxy, teaching both wisdom and war, peace and preparedness. The surviving ships became symbols not of destruction, but of protection. The Galactic Council offered humanity a seat on the ruling council, not as junior members, but as equals. The ancient legacy had proven humanity's worth. But more than that, humanity's compassion had proven their character. 1 year after the war ended, Elena and Arya stood on Earth, watching the sunrise over the ocean. It was the first time Arya had been to the homeworld in 5 million years. "It is beautiful," Arya said softly. "I had forgotten how beautiful it was. How beautiful life is." "You remember now," Elena said, taking her hand. "Yes. Because of you. Because modern humans refused to give up on us. You saw weapons and chose to see people instead." Elena smiled. "That is what humanity does. We hope when we should not. We try when we should give up. We believe in better tomorrows. The ancient gods of war have learned at last to hope," Arya said, echoing her own thoughts. She turned to Elena. "Thank you. For giving us back our humanity. For giving us a future." They stood together as the sun rose, painting the sky in gold and crimson. Above them, the ancient warships orbited peacefully, no longer tools of destruction but guardians of life. Humanity had proven that even the darkest past could lead to a brighter future. The war that had defined an era was over. The peace that would define the next era had begun. And at the heart of it all was a simple truth that Elena had known from the beginning. Hope is the greatest weapon, and mercy is the truest strength. Humanity, both ancient and modern, had finally come home. Elena spent 3 days aboard the primordial fortress, learning its systems with Harbinger's help. The ship was a city unto itself, with corridors that stretched for miles and rooms that defied physics. Some chambers existed in multiple dimensions at once. Others contained weapons that Elena could not even begin to understand. But it was the cryobay that drew her back again and again. Rows of sleeping pods stretched as far as she could see, each one containing an ancient human warrior. Through the frosted glass she could see their faces. They looked human, but there was something different about them. Their features were sharper, harder. Even in sleep they looked ready for war. "Harbinger," Elena said, standing before one particular pod. "Tell me about them. What were they like?" The AI's voice echoed through the chamber. "They were humanity's greatest achievement and greatest shame. Enhanced from birth to be perfect warriors. Stronger, faster, smarter. They could survive in vacuum for hours, regenerate from wounds that would kill normal humans. Their minds were linked to weapons, systems directly. They were designed to fight the Devourers, but the war lasted 10,000 years. It changed them." "How?" Elena asked quietly. "They forgot how to be anything except soldiers. They forgot joy, love, hope." Admiral Chen realized that if they won the war, they would be too broken to rebuild civilization. That is why he sent the civilians away. He wanted humanity to have a future even if the warriors did not. Elena felt tears in her eyes. These sleeping soldiers had sacrificed everything. Not just their lives, but their humanity itself. Can they be saved? She asked. Can they heal? I do not know. That would depend on you, on whether modern humans can teach them to be human again. Before Elena could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Harbinger's voice turned urgent. Subspace disturbance detected at the galactic rim. Massive energy signatures. Pattern matches Devourer vessels. They have returned. Elena ran to the bridge. The view screens showed data streaming in from across the galaxy. At the edge of known space, Council observation posts were going dark one by one. Ships sent to investigate never came back. The few automated probes that escaped showed horrifying images. The Devourers looked like living starships made of black crystal and writhing flesh. They moved through space like sharks through water, consuming everything they touched. Planets, stars, entire solar systems disappeared into their mass. How many? Elena whispered. Sensors detect 10,000 vessels in the vanguard. The main swarm has not yet arrived. 10,000. The Galactic Council's entire military had maybe 30,000 ships total, and those ships were no match for the Devourers. Elena had seen the battle records from the beacon. Council weapons would be like throwing rocks at a hurricane. We need the warriors, Elena said. Harbinger, begin revival protocols. Start with their commanders. Confirmed. Initiating revival sequence. The first pod to open belonged to a woman named Aria Vex. According to Harbinger, she had been a commander of elite strike forces. She had led 1,000 successful missions against Devourer hive ships. She was 4.7 million years old, but her body was only 47 due to time dilation and stasis. Elena watched as the pod opened and Aria took her first breath in millions of years. The warrior's eyes snapped open immediately. There was no confusion, no disorientation. One moment she was asleep, the next she was scanning the room for threats, her body coiled like a spring. Status report, Aria said, her voice rough from disuse. Her eyes locked onto Elena. Who are you? Why am I awake? I am Captain Elena Kurosawa, Elena said, trying to keep her voice steady. The Devourers have returned. We need your help. Aria stood up slowly. She was taller than Elena, with muscles that looked like steel cables under her skin. Scars covered her body, each one a story of survival. The Devourers. How long was I asleep? 4.7 million years, Elena said. Aria did not react. She simply nodded as if Elena had said a few hours. And you are human? You look soft. Where is your combat armor? Your weapon interfaces? We do not have those. Modern humans are different. We are descended from the civilians who were sent back to Earth. For the first time, Aria showed emotion. Surprise flickered across her face. Chen actually did it. He saved the civilians. She looked at Elena more carefully. You really are human, just not like us. Over the next few hours, Harbinger woke more warriors. Each one had the same reaction. Relief that the plan had worked. Confusion at how different modern humans were. And underneath it all, a bone-deep weariness that no amount of sleep could fix. Aria gathered her officers in the strategy room. Elena was allowed to attend, but she felt like an outsider. These warriors spoke in military terms she barely understood. They discussed weapon systems and tactical doctrines from a war that ended before Earth's dinosaurs existed. We need to assess the Devourer forces, Aria said, studying the tactical displays. Harbinger, how many ships can we wake immediately? 73. Dreadnoughts can be operational within 12 hours. Full crew revival will take 48 hours. Do it. Send activation signals to all vessels. We move on the Devourer position in 2 days. One of Aria's officers, a man named Drake, spoke up. Commander, what about the Galactic Council? Do they know we exist? I do not care about the Council, Aria said coldly. We fight Devourers. That is all that matters. Elena could not stay quiet. You should care. The Council has billions of civilians. If the Devourers break through, everyone dies. We need to coordinate with them. Aria turned to look at Elena. Her expression was not hostile, but it was not friendly either. Captain Kurosawa, you seem like a good person, but you do not understand war. The Council will want to command us. They will want to use our ships for their purposes. They will waste time with meetings and votes while the enemy advances. We do not have time for politics, then what do you have time for? Elena challenged. Killing Devourers. That is what we were made for. That is what we do. Arya's voice was flat, emotionless. It was the voice of someone who had forgotten how to be anything except a weapon. Elena felt anger rising in her chest. Is that all you are? Just weapons? Admiral Chen sent the civilians away because he wanted humanity to have a future. What future is there if you die killing devourers? For a long moment, Arya stared at her. Then quietly she said, "We do not expect to survive, Captain. We are buying time. That is all we ever did. That is all we can do." The room fell silent. Elena realized with horror that these warriors were not planning to win. They were planning to die fighting, hoping it would give the rest of the galaxy a chance. "There has to be another way," Elena said desperately. Arya's expression softened slightly. "If you find one, tell me. But for now, we prepare for war." As the meeting broke up, Elena felt sick. She had woken warriors who saw themselves as already dead, who had no hope for tomorrow, only duty today. Admiral Chen had been right. These people were broken. But maybe, just maybe, modern humans could remind them what they were fighting for. Not just survival, not just duty, but hope, family, love, all the things that made life worth living. Elena made a decision. She would stay with the ancient fleet. She would fight alongside them. And somehow she would teach them to be human again, even if it killed her.